Welcome to UNCAGED, the show that celebrates thought leadership from today's top business leaders. The program provides a voice to amazing executives from around the globe who are shaping the world of business today and mapping the path to the commerce of tomorrow. Today, we're speaking with Nathan Sanders. Hey, Nathan, how are you?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I am well. I'm excited to talk to you about your business. It was very much part of my life over the last couple of years. So Nathan is the president and CEO of Brook Furniture Rental. Anyone who's actually gone through the process of renting furniture for a move or transforming what they're doing on the living side of things. As Brook says, life keeps you moving. Brook keeps it easy. So we'll talk a little bit about what Nathan and the team are working on at Brook Furniture. But before we get there, Nathan, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career.
So I always start with, where I came from. My father was a freight dock worker who spent 20 years on the freight docks, and then he climbed into a semi truck and spent the last 21 years of his career driving. Mom was a stay-at-home mom. So, when I hit college, you know what you know and you know who you know. And so when I needed a job during the summers, I worked freight docks. And, I always illustrate that story because I learned the supply chain, literally from the ground up. And even after college, I was a national account management for many years. It was amazing the number of times I used those lessons that I learned about how things moved and how the flow of things and the human interaction with the technology or lack of technology. And it enabled me to really ask good questions to help me grow my career. So I always like to start there because, if you're familiar with the freight term lumper, I was my dad's lumper for many years, where I basically flung freight in and out of the back of a truck as fast as possible. So I come from it naturally, so to speak, in terms of being into leadership roles and understanding how things work and flow.
Yeah, and I would say what an interesting time to be working in logistics and freight, as that seems to be first and foremost on almost every executive's minds these days. But tell me a little bit more about the experience at Brook Furniture Rental and what you guys are working on.
Well, I mean, part of my background as well is that I'm a transformation agent. What I've done in my career, I was always the guy that raised my hand for the hard projects or for the new things, or, hey, we need somebody to travel here and go fix this. Mm-hmm. And so what that enabled me to do was gain a series of experiences, whether it be systems, people, extreme growth, extreme problems. And, I turned into this transformation agent. It was not a career path that I was looking to pick. I was just that guy that's like, hey, I think I can fix this. And so that's why I came to Brook. Brook and the entire furniture rental industry is extremely manual. And so when I walked in the door a few years back, right before the pandemic, the goal was to basically automate the simple so we can focus on the true customer service items and truly grow the business. This is a very mom and pop business, a lot of paperwork, a lot of manual processes, a lot of, hey, give me a call. And the service levels were great at Brook and, even with my competitors, but the scalability and the opportunities to grow were really restricted based on those processes that were holding us back. And so I basically have come in with my transformation experience to leverage our technology, again, to automate the simple, to enable us to grow and to scale our businesses to the next level. And so that's basically why I'm at Brook today.
I love the line, automate the simple. I think, Nathan, you need to trademark that one for sure. But I mean, it's a really interesting one, especially with logistics, because whilst it sometimes seems simple, wow, it's complicated to make that efficient. And over the last couple of years, we've been going through this crazy moment with really logistics shortages and also lots of pressure on freight, moving things around. Tell me a little bit about how you guys have been navigating all that.
Well, our customer base is diverse, right? So it's furniture rental, but relocation is different than corporate housing, which is training, which is different than insurance housing. Hurricane Ian, people are displaced. When they go into another home, those homes don't come furnished. And then we have our direct-to-consumer line for the folks that, especially post-pandemic, the flexible lifestyles, the frequent moves for career opportunities. We're basically serving this wide, diverse range of groupings of people, even though it's the same process over and over again. At some point, They're going to place an order. You're going to have to put it on a truck, and then you're going to have to deliver it in a quality and effective and efficient manner. And that's basically where we've been spending our time in focusing on those processes with technology. The challenge is that, the same thing everyone else has seen, the inconsistencies in volume with the pandemic, and now heading into, I'll call it the inflation conversation, as I'll put it, the inability to easily hire staff. We have a great culture at Brook. There's a lot of drivers that deliver furniture specifically, or even large goods. They primarily work into the night, and they definitely work every weekend. Brook is more of a corporate culture where it's, our customers are only available Monday through Friday.
Mhm.
So, we have this great culture. Our pay structure is great. We've got great equipment, great technology, great. But how, when everybody is searching for that same one driver and there's 5 jobs per one driver, those challenges, we all have them, which is the good news. But it's still, the bad news is that we all still have those challenges. But at least Brook isn't the only one fighting this, because it's a little bit more difficult when it's just you. At least it's all of us.
Well, at least I guess you have someone to commiserate with. And
At a
certainly,
minimum, yeah.
I think there has been a lot of trying to figure out how we can get more people into some of these areas for jobs. It's one of those interesting ones. Probably people don't initially think of logistics as being the first thing that they think about as a career, but man, is it a fascinating field. And so I think really kind of encouraging people to consider that, as well as, it was funny, I was on a board of a company that had a couple fleets, and looking at the money that actually drivers make these days, it's not bad.
It's a good living.
Yeah.
It is a good living. Mhm. Oh,
Yeah, so I
absolutely.
think people forget that sometimes going forward. Well, I mean, it's been an interesting one, and I certainly see those challenges on the staffing side, as well as I remember trying to actually purchase a sofa during the pandemic, and
Mhm.
I thought I had ordered it. I thought it was coming, and what I didn't see was the small print that said that it wasn't going to arrive for another 9 months. So,
Oh, yeah.
and somebody told me, said, 9 months, that's good. That's good. You're lucky. But it shows you the need also for balancing out that kind of perhaps the purchases that someone might want to be making, as well as kind of the short-term needs for businesses as well as personal, on managing that. Tell me, during the pandemic, did you guys see the need for your stuff go up?
It based on vertical. I mean, so some of our verticals, for example, corporate housing with training, interns, people weren't going into the office for for almost 2 years,
Yeah.
in any shape or sense, let alone the conversations about hybrid and remote and work from home that they're having today. So obviously we had some verticals that saw some pain points, but we also continued to invest in our technology, which allowed us to, as an example, open up 2 verticals, which was student housing and also
Mhm.
our direct to consumer. Student housing is just exactly what it sounds like. Is it's hard when you're a college student and you got to find furniture for your apartment for 9 months out of the year, right? Rental is actually a sweet spot for it. And in the direct to consumer, that flexible lifestyle, we saw a lot of growth in that vertical during the pandemic. Barron's wrote an article in May of this year that they feel that the furniture rental vertical on the direct to consumer side is going to be $1 billion business within the next 5 years. Currently about 150 million now. And so we basically jumped into that. Not all of our competitors have as of yet. And, we're starting to lead the way in terms of that growth based on the technology investment, and then based on the overall, that is where the market is heading. People want that flexibility, and you don't always want to be tied down by your furniture, let alone potentially where you're living, especially, and again, on those flexible lifestyles. So a lot of growth on the D2C side. We definitely expect that to continue.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point, especially with kind of that digital nomadic lifestyle. They still need beds and couches to use, but
Like,
perhaps they don't want to put it in their suitcase or backpack to get there. And so that's where
exactly.
they really need Brook Furniture Rentals. So, I mean, Nathan, you referred to it a while ago. We find ourselves in an interesting moment again now, where we've had earlier this year, we had obviously things like rising gas prices, and certainly the topic of inflation is in the news every day. Tell me a little bit about what the landscape looks like going forward.
Well, you have to understand that I'm an optimist by nature. When I look at any leading economic indicator, yeah, you can see some trouble points, but at the same time frame, there's always in my mind, what are we comparing it to, right? There's been some record spend and some record consumer demand over the past couple years, especially in some verticals and categories, and furniture is certainly one of them. And so, it's interesting when we talk about the ups and downs of what is going to occur, just because some of these downs naturally have to occur. I mean, when you're
Right.
doing, 2 times, 3 times the amount of business you normally would in a year, at some point that's got to level out. For us, we're still optimistic, even though it's going to have some tough challenges, mainly because with the slow housing starts, with the higher rents, with the unavailability or lack of availability, I should say, in the multifamily or apartment space and finding units, people are putting off, call it final home buying decisions for a variety of reasons. And, when you're putting those decisions off, you're also putting off purchasing furniture long term because today I live in an apartment, tomorrow I'm going to buy a house. Well, that tomorrow gets put off. What are you going to do until then? You can go get fast furniture, which is what we call, go to Target, go to Walmart, IKEA. This is stuff that you intend to throw away. Or for basically around the same price, you can rent furniture that basically doesn't end up in a landfill, allows you to have a sustainable, experience. And, basically it helps the environment because our business model, we rent furniture 4 to 6 times, and that allows us to basically keep that stuff out of the landfill. So long story short, we feel that the overall inflationary impact will be tough. I'm not going to lie, it's going to have an impact, but there's still slivers of opportunity throughout all of it that basically allows our customers to basically have the options to continue their lifestyle, make decisions that are beneficial for their life, and then they end up being sustainable ones on top of everything else.
Nathan, I listen and I love the way that you have reacted to changes in the market and how you're building a plan based on how society is shifting and how you guys are able to fill a needed gap there. If someone wanted to learn more about what you and the Brook Furniture Rental team are doing, where's the best place to reach you?
The best place to reach me is on LinkedIn. I just basically I take all comers on LinkedIn. I love learning and I love meeting new people. So I always encourage folks, that's the best way to contact me because my information is available on there. And, I respond pretty greatly. So.
Excellent. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for being on UNCAGED today. We've been speaking with Nathan Sanders. He is the president and CEO of Brook Furniture Rental. We've been talking about really kind of a major shift, I would say, that seems to be happening here, where people that perhaps might not have rented furniture are seeing the need for it as society shifts to maybe a more nomadic, maybe people wanting more flexibility, especially from a work perspective as well as a home perspective, right? This new hybrid world that we're moving in demands it. And so
Absolutely.
Nathan has been outlining some of the shifts and changes, as well as how Brook Furniture is facing some of the lovely challenges we're all facing these days. Nathan, thank you so much for being on UNCAGED today, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cheers.